The Eurasian steppe is an 8,000-kilometer belt of isolated, wind-swept grassland. For early nomadic tribes, the sheer scale of this landscape was punishing. But the physical environment was only half the threat. To these early cultures, the world was saturated with a terrifying, unseen ecosystem of hostile spirits. Because of this, early clothing was not designed for aesthetics. It possessed theological utility. A traditional garment was engineered to be literal spiritual armor. Take a look at this fringed shaman's tunic. It is heavily reinforced with metal objects, every piece serving a defensive function. The long iron bars map out a human skeleton, while the rings act as joints, and octagonal plates represent the earth. Even the silken streamers serve a purpose. They act as familiars, spirit companions woven into the fabric to guide the shaman safely into the other world. For ancient nomads, a garment's absolute highest value was its ability to act as a life support system for the soul in a deeply hostile universe. In the far north of Mongolia, the Buryat tribe evolved this concept into highly specialized regalia. Here, a polished brass mirror sits directly on the chest of a red cotton tunic, placed there to actively reflect and ward off evil spirits. The headgear pushes this even further. A chased copper mask is topped with branching copper antlers, allowing the wearer to channel raw animalistic power. Before transcontinental trade networks arrived, fashion did not exist here. A garment earned its value entirely through raw, defensive utility. This isolated ecosystem shifted dramatically in the 13th century. During the era of Kublai Khan, Tibetan Lamaist Buddhism arrived in the Mongol Empire. The incoming religion recognized the deep roots of the local shamanic beliefs. Rather than erasing the old spirits, Buddhism intentionally absorbed them. The Tsam masked dances emerged as the new, public vehicle for exorcising demons. The most prominent figure in these dances, the white old man guardian, deliberately wears the exact same white robes worn by Genghis Khan's ancient shamans. The new faith borrowed the old wardrobe to maintain local authority. Clothing stepped out of the shadows. It transitioned from a private, mystical survival tool into a public, performative uniform that bridged two distinct belief systems. Then came the physical trade of textiles. The transcontinental Silk Road began carving paths between China, the Tarim Basin, and Europe. We know the roots of this exchange go surprisingly deep, thanks to 3,000-year-old mummies preserved in the dry oases of the Tarim Basin. Buried with these mummies are distinctly woven fragments of woolen plaid twill from a town called Hami. This visual compares the Hami plaid with Bronze Age Celtic textiles found thousands of miles away in the Austrian Alps. The two patterns share an identical, verifiable origin in their weaving traditions. By the Islamic expansion in the 7th century, Central Asian textile production had exploded. It scaled up to a booming, continent-spanning industry. The Silk Road turned garments into the region's most valuable global export. The focus permanently shifted from spiritual survival to economic dominance. In booming 19th century trade hubs like Turkestan, clothing fully shed its spiritual armor. It became a strict, highly visible barcode of human hierarchy. At the absolute top, rulers and the highest court officials exclusively wore bagmal, a luxurious silk velvet, often heavily embroidered with gold. This illustration shows how wealthy merchants broadcasted their success through silk ikat. It's a complex tie-dye technique that produces these distinct, cloud-like bleeding edges. Contrast this with the peasants and nomads at the bottom of the ladder, who were relegated to wearing coarse, unadorned wool. In this new era, you could calculate a person's entire net worth and social standing instantly, simply by analyzing the fabric of their outer shell. Beyond class, geography, and societal rules strictly dictated fashion choices, particularly for women. An urban woman was required to wear the paranya, an ankle-length robe with mock sleeves that hung uselessly down the back, always paired with an impenetrable horsehair veil. Nomadic women, by contrast, almost never veiled. The physical labor required to survive the steppe environment made it completely impractical. Instead, nomadic women wore the chirpi, a specialized head covering that acted as a visual timeline. It was strictly color-coded, dark blue for the young, yellow for middle age, and white out of respect for the oldest women in the tribe. Whether it is an ancient Mongolian shaman strapping on iron bones, or a Turkestan merchant draping himself in vibrant silk, Central Asian clothing has always been highly engineered technology. It was built first to conquer the invisible heavens, and eventually the earthly social order.